It was a warm day in the small town of Starkville, Mississippi. 13-year-old Tyler Edmonds sat in the back seat of his sister's car, eagerly waiting for their trip to the beach. His big sister, Christy, was still inside the house, packing up the last few items for the day. Tyler, distracted by the radio, hardly noticed when a loud pop echoed from inside the home. It was just another sound, nothing that seemed out of the ordinary. His mind was focused on the beach, the waves, and the fun they'd soon have. But something was terribly wrong. Later, as they drove back from the beach, Christy's phone buzzed relentlessly. The carefree mood in the car vanished as calls came in one after another. Christy's face turned pale, her usual confidence replaced by a look of dread. "They found Joey dead," she muttered. Tyler, confused but too young to fully grasp the gravity of those words, remained silent. Joey Fulgham, Christy's husband, was dead. It wasn't long before the town began to murmur, and all eyes turned to Christy. After all, their rocky relationship had been aired on national television just a few years prior. People still remembered the Montel Williams show, where Christy had confessed that Joey wasn't the father of their youngest child. But would that be enough to make her guilty? Surely, a failing marriage didn't mean a life taker. Still, suspicion fell hard on Christy. And on one fateful day, 2 days after Joey's passing away, Tyler and his mother, Sharon, found themselves at the local sheriff's office. Sharon had been told that the police only had a few questions for Tyler, simple ones. But that wasn't the truth. Sharon barely had time to protest as officers led her son away, separating them. Tyler was just a child, nervous and confused. But the questions from the officers came in fast, twisting and turning, leaving him unsure of himself. He insisted that he hadn't done anything wrong, that he didn't know what had happened. But then, they revealed what Christy had said. "Christy told us that you pulled the trigger," one of the officers said, leaning in close, his voice dripping with accusation. Tyler's eyes widened in disbelief. No, he stammered. "My sister wouldn't say that." But the officers weren't convinced. One of them bent down inches from Tyler's face. "Are you calling me a liar, boy?" he snapped. The room felt smaller with each passing minute. Tyler's heart pounded, and fear clouded his thoughts. His world was spinning, and before he knew it, they brought Christy into the room. Tyler froze as his sister entered in an orange jumpsuit, her wrists bound by cold metal shackles. She was crying, her voice shaky. "Tyler, they're going to execute me," she sobbed. "I'm going to get the electric chair. You have to help me." Tyler couldn't process it. His big sister, the one he loved more than anything, was begging for his help, pleading for him to save her. His mind raced, torn between loyalty to Christy and his own innocence. He didn't understand the game that was being played, a twisted game of manipulation and pressure. But one thing was clear, he was just a pawn. She told him it would be easy. If he confessed to Joey's murder, the courts would go easy on him because he was a minor. It would be nothing more than a slap on the wrist. Meanwhile, she could avoid the death penalty. Scared and desperate to save his sister, Tyler agreed. In his mind, he thought he was doing the right thing, protecting his family. But what Tyler couldn't predict was how disastrously this would play out during his trial. After Christy was removed from the room, Tyler turned to the officers. "I'm ready to talk," he said quietly. The officers wasted no time. They turned on the camera and began recording his confession. Outside the interrogation room, his mother, Sharon, was pacing anxiously. She had trusted the officers, but something didn't feel right. "When I went looking for Tyler, I found the door to the room they had him in," Sharon recalled. "And that's when I found out they'd already taped his confession." Sharon was furious. She had told the police that, as his mother, she needed to be there. After all, Tyler was only 13. "I don't mind him talking to you," Sharon had said, "but I want to be in the room. He's a minor, and you all did this behind my back." But it was too late. The confession was already on tape, and despite the inconsistencies between Tyler and Christy's versions of events, the police felt they had what they needed. "They had a confession," Tyler's attorney later remarked. "It didn't matter if it was coerced. Once they had that tape, they thought they were on solid ground. At the trial, the weight of that confession hung over everything. Tyler's attorney noticed the shift even before the jury handed their verdict to the judge. "I could see it on the judge's face as he looked at the verdict," the attorney said. "It was clear to me that he believed Tyler was guilty. He wanted a conviction." When the verdict was read, it hit Tyler like a crushing blow. Life without the possibility of parole until he was 65. They took him away in handcuffs, locking him in a padded cell. No bed, no toilet, just cold, unforgiving concrete. "I would have preferred the death penalty," Tyler later admitted, "rather than sitting here for 24 hours a day for the rest of my life." The first time Sharon visited him after his conviction, Tyler was broken. Tears streamed down his face as she prepared to leave. "Mama, please don't leave me here," he cried, his voice filled with despair. The pain in his voice was unbearable. The years that followed were filled with darkness. Tyler was locked away in Walnut Grove, the largest youth correctional facility in the U.S. He lost years of his childhood, enduring things no child should ever experience. Even Joey Fulgham's family, the victims of the tragedy, were heartbroken by the toll this took on him. "All we wanted was the truth," one member of the Fulgham family said. "We didn't want to punish Tyler for the rest of his life." For 5 long years, Tyler rotted away in prison. But the one thing that kept him going was his mother. Sharon was a fighter, always by his side, never giving up. But the fight wasn't easy. As a single mother with limited resources, Sharon made enormous sacrifices to fund Tyler's defense. She gave up her home, her financial security, everything, just to keep her son's hope alive. "His defense was expensive," Sharon admitted. "I liquidated everything I had. I'll be in debt for the rest of my life. But it was about saving my child's life." Tyler's attorney, Jim Wade, refused to back down as well. He believed in Tyler's innocence, even when the odds seemed impossible. "Jim never gave up," Tyler said. "Even after I was convicted, he kept fighting. And Jim's perseverance paid off." In 2007, Wade discovered a critical flaw in the trial. The pathologist who had examined Joey's body wasn't even certified. That discovery changed everything. Tyler's conviction was overturned, and the state offered him a manslaughter plea deal. If he took it, he'd be released in just a few months. But Tyler stood firm. He was innocent, and he was willing to risk everything for a second trial to prove it. For his attorney, Wade, Tyler's refusal to accept the deal was proof of his innocence. "Most people would have taken the deal to get out," Wade explained. But Tyler was willing to risk life in prison because he didn't commit the crime. When the retrial began, Wade's first move was to call Christy to the stand. By then, she had been sentenced to death for her role in Joey's life-taking. Wade hoped she would finally tell the truth. But Christy refused. "On the advice of my attorney," she said coldly, "I'm not answering any questions." Next, Tyler took the stand. The DA immediately pounced, asking about the confession. "Did you lie when you gave that statement?" the DA asked. "Yes, sir, I did," Tyler responded firmly. "And why did you lie?" "To protect my sister," Tyler admitted. The DA tried to paint Tyler as untrustworthy, a liar who had changed his story to save himself. But Wade wasn't done yet. He had one final card to play, a surprise witness. Danny Edmonds, Tyler and Christy's estranged father. When Danny took the stand, his testimony shocked the courtroom. "Christy came to my house," he told the jury, "and asked for a weapon. She said she wanted to unalive Joey because he was mean to her." For years, Danny had tried to warn the authorities, but Tyler's false confession had overshadowed the truth. It was only now, as the pieces of the puzzle came together, that the real motive behind Joey's life-taking became clear. Christy had been after Joey's life insurance policy all along. Wade believed the jury was finally seeing the truth. But the DA wasn't finished. He played the original confession tape, hoping to sway them back to his side. The fate of Tyler Edmonds hung in the balance once more. Without any video evidence of Christy's manipulation of her younger brother during the interrogation, Wade had to get creative. He requested to bring a false confession expert to the stand, hoping they could shed light on how Tyler, just a boy at the time, was coerced into admitting to a crime he didn't commit. But the judge refused. Still, Wade wasn't one to back down. He had a plan. During the trial, he played a key piece of footage for the jury, Tyler's own confession. In the video, Tyler claimed that after he fired the shot that unalived Joey, he saw blood splatter on the bed. But Wade had brought in a new court-appointed pathologist who explained that this would have been impossible. The wound caused by the .22 caliber rifle was too small for any significant blood splatter. Wade didn't stop there. He showed the jury crime scene photos, reading from the CSI report from May 10, 2003, which detailed how the scene was pristine. No blood, no sign of a struggle, and no evidence of a cover-up. The discrepancies between Tyler's confession and the actual evidence were glaring. "This boy says he saw blood," Wade argued. "But the evidence tells us something completely different. For Tyler, the stakes couldn't have been higher. His entire life was on the line." "Why did you take the blame for it?" Wade asked his client in front of the jury. "Because my sister told me nothing would happen to me since I was under 18, Tyler explained. "She said if I didn't take the blame, they would unalive her. I'd never see her or her kids again." The prosecution wasn't going to let Wade's arguments slide. The district attorney tried to discredit Tyler by pointing out how easily he had lied before, suggesting he was doing the same now. In the DA's closing argument, he insisted Christie hadn't acted alone. "She found someone willing to walk into that room with a .22 rifle and fire the shot that unalived Joey Fulgham," the DA said, his voice rising. "The question is, should that person be held accountable?" But Wade wasn't swayed. In his final address to the jury, he called upon faith, offering a poignant rebuttal. "The prosecutor thinks he knows what happened," Wade said. "But he wasn't there. None of us were. One day, we're all going to stand before God and give an account of our actions. If I were on this jury, I'd much rather be telling God I voted to set that child free than to say I bore false witness against him." For agonizing hours later, the jury returned with a unanimous verdict. Not guilty. Tyler was free. In the courtroom, tears of relief flowed. Tyler, who had prepared himself for the possibility of a life sentence, now faced a different future. One that didn't involve prison walls. His mother, Sharon, and Jim Wade stood by his side, both filled with pride for the resilience Tyler had shown through the darkest of times. "I told Tyler this morning," Wade reflected after the trial, "my life is nearing its end, but his is just beginning. He has all the potential in the world now with this burden lifted. There's no telling what he'll achieve." In 2010, Christie herself faced a retrial. The investigation into Joey's life-taking revealed the truth. It was Christie who had planned the life-taking for over 3 years. Around the same time she began asking about Joey's life insurance, she had also started hanging out with Tyler. Looking back, Tyler wondered if her intentions had always been sinister. "Why did she get close to me?" Tyler asked, still grappling with the betrayal. "There's a part of me that thinks she knew exactly what she was going to do, and maybe she got close just to use me as her scapegoat." But for Tyler, the hardest part of his ordeal was the loss Joey Fulgham's family had suffered. "You can't forget that Joey lost his life," Tyler said solemnly. "I can slowly piece my life back together, but he can't." After his release, Tyler returned home with his mother, but he didn't stay in Mississippi for long. The weight of being the boy from the 5 o'clock news was too much to bear. "I needed to leave Mississippi," Tyler said. "I didn't know where I could go where I wouldn't be that kid from the news. I needed to figure out who I was." Tyler went on to graduate as an emergency medical technician and eventually found work with the U.S. Department of Defense in Arizona. But his story didn't end there. Inspired by his own experience, Tyler became an advocate for children's rights within the legal system. "Children should not be allowed to speak to police officers without an attorney present," Tyler stated firmly. "Some people say a parent should be there, but even parents don't know how to navigate the system." Tyler's activism brought him back to Mississippi often, where he spoke at the Mississippi Public Defenders Association and became a successful business owner. He never forgot the sacrifices his mother made for him, and now he was in a position to give back, supporting her in return. For those who think the state didn't do anything wrong, Tyler said, they took advantage of my age and naivety. You don't do that to children. I don't care what your reasons are. You don't do that. Today, Tyler continues to fight for justice, determined to ensure that no other child goes through what he did. He stood up for himself, and now he's standing up for others. In the face of overwhelming adversity, Tyler Edmonds' story is one of resilience, justice, and the power of perseverance. From a young boy manipulated into confessing to a crime he didn't commit, to an advocate for children's rights, Tyler's journey serves as a reminder of the importance of integrity and the fight for truth. His courage and the unwavering support of those who believed in his innocence have paved the way for change, highlighting the need to protect vulnerable individuals within the justice system. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more true stories that inspire, challenge, and remind us of the strength of the human spirit.